Hey, it's Dermie here with a review of Amazing Spider-Man number 800, Go Down Swinging. It's the conclusion of the story arc that's going to culminate with Spider-Man fighting the Red Goblin in an epic showdown. As you can tell, it's an 80-page issue. It's pretty thick compared to the other issues. It kind of bulges out a little bit when you put it behind bag and board. I enjoyed the issue. My problem I have is they build it up as this huge high stakes battle, and there were some high stakes, but the payout wasn't what I thought it was going to be or what I had hoped it to be. Obviously, a lot of people got hurt in battling the Red Goblin with him being bonded with the Carnage symbiote. Norman Osborn's at his best Joker impersonation, pretty much. Kind of meandered around a little bit with toying with Spider-Man. I think his gambit to not hurt anybody of Spider-Man's family, as long as Peter Parker doesn't put on the suit anymore, it felt really out of place. I don't understand why Norman Osborn wouldn't just finish him off right then at that moment. From a character standpoint, what did he have to gain by letting him live other than to suffer? But because he always talks about how he wants to rip Spider-Man open and make him suffer and squeal, but then he lets Spider-Man wave his spider flag, white flag, and lets him get away. I don't know, just didn't sit right with me. And of course, Spider-Man, gets all of his friends to try to help, or tries to get them to help, but then tries to not let them get too involved. And of course, they all get hurt because they're not Spider-Man. So I don't know. Of course, Agent Anti-Venom Flash Thompson comes along and miraculously has this healing ability from the Anti-Venom, so he saves everybody, and he's pretty much a key character in the issue. But then he dies. Kind of wasn't sure if he died or if he just passed out. Didn't make too much sense. Then we have, of course, Eddie Brock intervening at the behest of J. Jonah Jameson, trying to help out Spider-Man, because ever since J. Jonah found out that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, he's all about being his super helper slash Alfred wannabe, I think, at some points. And of course, Venom does show up, which was pretty cool, and fights off, Red Goblin. And I know I'm talking about some of these things out of order in the issue for some of you that have already read it. But my biggest thing is, Venom gives Peter back the symbiote to make him stronger and more powerful. But then Peter barely uses the symbiote in the fight against Carnage. All total, it was kind of really pointless for him to have it when he really didn't use the symbiote's abilities all that much in the end. And just as the Red Goblin has him where he wants him and is about to kill him, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Parker throws out the whole gambit that, it's not really you killing me, it's really Carnage and Cletus Cassidy killing me. You're nothing. And Norman Osborn falls for it in ridiculous fashion. And of course, they both shed their symbiotes and fight each other. And Spider-Man eventually gets the Goblin down where the Green Goblin, just Norman Osborn at this point, down to where he wants him. And he keeps talking about how, this is never going to end. I have to finish this type situation. And from a comic standpoint, we all know it's never going to end. But J. Jonah Jameson comes in, and reading this issue, I was really expecting, a character, obviously not Flash Thompson, because with him having Agent Venom and that healing capacity, even though by the end of this issue, he's dead and in the ground, he's going to come back. Everybody knows he's going to come back. He's not really a superhero death. And of course that he has that anti-venom somewhere probably in his body, it'll revive him. He'll heal up and come out of the grave and la-di-da, and that'll show up somewhere probably 50 issues along the line in Venom somewhere. But I digress. I kind of thought J. Jonah Jameson was going to bite the bullet because, at this point, after so many years of Spider-Man, Jameson finally knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, so there's not that dynamic anymore. Peter's pissed off at Jameson for inadvertently revealing to Norman Osborn that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And I kind of was expecting Jameson to bite the bullet on this one. And when I saw him pick up the gun, I thought, okay, maybe it's not him. Maybe they'll actually go pretty dark and he'll kill Norman Osborn, because obviously Spider-Man's never going to do it, and it'll be a turn. It'll be a very dramatic, gripping point for Jameson to go over that line for the sake of Spider-Man, so that Spider-Man's hands aren't dirty, but his are, and ridding the world of Norman Osborn, aka pretty much the Joker at this point, because by the end of it, Spider-Man is like Batman in this scenario. He's not going to kill his greatest arch villain, and the fact that he's done all these horrible things, he eviscerates a guy in a Spider-Man costume, and yet Spider-Man still won't put Norman down for good. He's kidnapped his grandson, infected him with the Carnage symbiote. He's attacked Harry Osborn and pretty much could care less if he kills him. Norman's done some horrible things. And yet, Spider-Man still can't make that decision to let go. Just like, kind of the opposite of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, where, spoiler alert, he lets Koba fall to his death, and where Caesar just lets him go. He's realized he's a lost cause. There's no saving him. And, this person's too much of a danger to everybody else that he cares about. And yet we have J. Jonah Jameson about to put Norman Osborn out of his miserable life. And Spider-Man jumps in front of the bullet and takes a bullet in the arm for Norman Osborn. Like, oh, what the heck? After all that, after threatening to kill Aunt May, Mary Jane, all of his closest friends, he still jumps out and takes a bullet for Norman Osborn. And that is a very heroic thing to do. He's Spider-Man. He's everybody's lovable neighborhood good guy Spider-Man. But at some point, I know, kind of like Goku in Resurrection F, where he lets Frieza go, and Frieza pretty much annihilates Earth. And they say, look, you can't do this all the time. You're not going to get a redo. And obviously, the case can be made that, it's comics. There's always going to be a redo. But I don't know. This didn't turn out the way I'd hoped it would. I was really yearning for a gritty, no holds barred, game-changing end. And what we get by the end of it is Flash Thompson died and Norman Osborn's locked up in Ravencroft, aka Arkham Asylum, and we keep having this. We have this parallel between Batman and Joker, where Joker knows Batman's identity, and he's so crazy he doesn't care about Bruce Wayne. He only cares about Batman. Norman Osborn, same thing. He knows who Peter Parker is, and he doesn't care about Peter Parker. He only cares about hurting Spider-Man. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was good, but it just didn't live up to my expectations. So I do recommend it. It's a very, if you're a Spider-Man fan, you'll enjoy it. Maybe hopefully a little more than I did. It's not a letdown. It's okay. But this whole dark, ultimate battle climax that they build up to, it just doesn't really pan out the way I, or maybe even some other people, expected it to. Or maybe you did see it coming and it lived up to your expectations. So, obviously there's going to be issue 801, and then I'm pretty sure, from my understanding, is they're restarting at issue number 1 again, like most of the other Marvel titles. So, we'll see where it goes. With a series as storied and as ongoing as The Amazing Spider-Man, it's funny how a lot of things change, but mostly things stay the same. J. Jonah Jameson's still around. Aunt May is still alive. And it's funny when they look back on the history and they make it feel like it's the 90s. I think at one point J. Jonah Jameson calls Peter Parker a millennial, which I found very funny because he's kind of making him the same age as me. But obviously, Amazing Spider-Man's been around since the 60s. So just kind of the retconning, the making the timeline and the anachronisms move around a little bit. I don't know. It's comics. It is what it is. It's an enjoyable read. You know as well as I do, if you love a comic book series, you're going to read it no matter what, as long as they don't do anything really stupid. And maybe if you're like me, or if you're a person like me that expects something very dramatic and awesome and groundbreaking to happen in a series that's 800 issues long, it's not going to happen. It's just going to be more of the same, and if people enjoy it and keep reading it, why would they change it? So, but here's the look into another 100 issues of Spider-Man, and we'll see where it is at, because, at some point they're going to go back to the old numbering. It's happened so many times because they keep wanting to sell issue ones. So, we'll see what happens. So until then, this is Dermie Reviews signing off.